Welcome back to Vampire with the Rude Man. In the last episode, we talked to Nurse Crane, and she told us that there may be some supplies in the old morgue, so we'll have to find that. In the meantime, we need to familiarize ourselves with the hospital, and so we should probably just start searching around, talking to people. This is Dr. Tippett's, Dr. Strickland, and Dr. Ackroyd, and it's obviously locked. It's just like miscellaneous junk, maybe. And the door's even knocked off of it. Is there blood always on the floor? There's a nurse we haven't met yet. Oh, a used hacksaw. Okay. Wait a minute. T. Elwood's medical file. Who is T. Elwood? I don't want that marker there. How do I take it back? Remove. Okay. Patient, Thomas Elwood. Okay, so let's see here. The patient's face has been heavily burned and disfigured by a bomb during the war. Even with the use of the strongest sedatives, he affirms to regularly endure severe pain from the wounds, as if the flames are still burning under the skin. Examinations of the citrusized tissue show no trace of inflammation, infection, or swelling. Scars are clean. Could it be a case of persisting nerve damage? The patient never ceases to blame himself for his disfiguration. Could it be a case of guilt of the survivor, phantom pain manifesting as a punishment for not dying with his comrades? I guess that is a thing. Alright, so we've got a little bit of information. Now see, had we not searched around, we wouldn't have found that. And if we wouldn't have found that, we can still talk to the patient, but we'd have to get that information elsewhere or by other means if we were even able to. But that gave us a hint when we go to talk to him. And you can pick up hints like that that tie people together and conversations together on almost everybody. So it really behooves you to look around and to talk to everybody. Oh, we went the wrong way. No sense backtracking. So it's kind of weird playing a vampire. If you're playing to where you're kind of acting like it's you. I mean, I don't know if I've ever thought about things like that. I mean, vampires to me are evil and monsters and need to be destroyed. But movies in the later years here, they're romantic and they glitter in the sunlight and they're just to be swooned over and that kind of thing. It's just crazy. That's Dr. Swansea. I've called him Swanson. It's Swansea. It was just a slip of the tongue.
I cannot enter.
Okay, nothing up here. Alright, let's head down. Aha. A person to talk to. I'm assuming patients must be wandering around.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, Tonight, maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Okay. Well, it's a story about vampires. Could she really be one, or is she just a crazy patient?
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of pustulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
Interesting. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome?
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
Well, he is a vampire, and he's having trouble coming to terms with, what it's like to be one. So she is right in that respect. You couldn't begin to imagine. He doesn't seem to have the imagination for it, but he's learning slowly.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
So she's a secret agent as well as a vampire.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
Ah, garden during the morgue. Another hint. I need to go to the morgue. Maybe we'll see where this garden's at. Well, okay, we're going to take good care of you.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Okay, so they're, those vampire hunters, I'm sure, maybe? A new citizen investigation is available. Press, whatever that is, to open the local investigations menu. All right, citizens investigations. You can start a new citizen quest by tracking it with X, then access to your map to locate the area to explore. Okay. So we've got that. We can hit the X. Doesn't seem to do anything. Or is it here? There we go. Okay, this is pretty much what we were just told. She thinks she's a vampire, and I believe she's referring to the Guard of Pruin. Can't take the risk of having these hunters investigate around the hospital. Maybe I should spy on them and protect Thelma Howcroft from those hunters. Okay, so let's do that, I guess. It's in the queue.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
It was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Okay, that was fun. All right, what do we got in here? Lockers. Let's see what's in the lockers.
It's locked, all right.
Both of them? That one wasn't locked. A long letter. Hello, sis. How are things in the big city? Here in Brum, things are not so good. It seems the flu is here again, and we have many new cases of infection in the neighborhood. You remember Mrs. Shelton, the old drinking hag from the 3rd floor? She passed away 2 days ago, and her flat is already occupied again. Jeez. You'd have to pay me a huge amount of money to go sleep in the bed in which a woman died of the flu just hours ago. Sorry I did not take time to quickly answer your last letter. Between taking care of little Paul, Mum, Dad, and my job at the factory, of course, I rarely find time to write to my favorite sister. By the way, my son says hello to his Auntie Pippa. You should see it. You should see the little booger. Already driving me mad. And Mum says you bring back some of those marvelous cakes the next time you come back home to visit. In your last letter, you told me you thought about quitting your job at the Pembroke Hospital. I have to tell you, Pip, you better think twice. There are always jobs at the factory, but wages are crap, and it's as boring as day without a shag. Oh, I have a new fiancé, and no, I'm not a slut, you mortal bitch. Moral bitch, you. So if you really want to quit and do something more useful than counting the dead every morning, maybe you better stay in London and join the band you told me about. That Guard of Priven? Something like that? Never heard of them. But they are, like you said, some sort of civil militia trying to make a difference. Then maybe it's a good choice for you. Just be sure to let the others go in front. That's how my poor Billy got killed in France. By leading too many patrols. Bloody war. Anyway, come back as soon as you can. Give me all the good news before that. I'm your affectionate sister, Lucy, Paul, Mum, and Dad. Okay, so that's Pippa Hawkins, one of the other nurses that we haven't met yet. Well, you know, they're talking about not having enough room for storage and stuff, and then they got this great big empty room that nobody's in. Weird. Okay, so let's see. We came down the hall, and we're heading. Let's just go around in a semicircle here. We'll just continue on counterclockwise. Go through these rooms. Wow, just people laying everywhere. Evidently, they don't have a janitor either. Nothing's getting picked up. Who are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansea's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Well, not rude.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Ah, jealousy, eh?
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Well, this guy's a ninny, I can tell.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Oh, what if he did?
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
And what's the reality?
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
All right, so we've got a ninny. I think, regardless of what he says, he sounds jealous in just the way he says it.
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me. I will not let you down, my boy.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No,
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Mr. Mortimer Goswick.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
Okay.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
Okay, so there's something going up here, here.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
He just told you that. He told you he didn't want to talk. All right, fine, you big baby.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
How's he going to contact you? He doesn't want to talk.
Don't waste your time with me.
Well, I thought maybe there's a note there or something. Oh, who's this?
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
I just did. I didn't know you were behind the door, or I'd have talked to you first. Well, she's got nothing else to say.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
All right. You can afford that?
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
Okay. Now, she mentioned something about complaints about the receptionist here? Or the reception here?
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Ah, I see.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
Oh, what? She charged you?
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Alright, so what do you need?
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Alright, we've already talked to her about that, but it didn't go away, so there must be more to it that we haven't got hints for. Alright, I guess that's all I'm going to get out of it for now.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Okay, let's see. This way? Hello? Uh-oh.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Okay. Wow, somebody's moaning and groaning. Alright, nothing to ask him there. Tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Ah, so he hurt his arm, he's trying to get it fixed, and evidently he's got 2 doctors already because he mentioned I would be the 3rd, and they're arguing?
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
Yeah, it's going
lie
around.
to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies.
Alright, well, I think he might be thinking about his own situation. He doesn't know how to handle being a vampire, and he hasn't even come to terms that he is one. He's probably worried about what would happen if he started doing an operation and there's blood. Alright, that's all I'm going to get out of him, I guess. So,
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
one of the other doctors is that Popinjay. Is that him? Or is that a different doctor?
My sweet girl.
So he must be thinking he's better than the other doctor.
Never could keep it.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Aha. He's admirer of his work, which means he agrees with what this doctor's doing. This doctor is a a blood specialist, and the other doctor's just a cut 'em and patch 'em up doctor. And that's probably why they're fighting. This guy must want to do something with that guy's arm that the other guy doesn't want. All right, we're going to get to this one. Let's have him tell us about himself, because before I jump in with this...
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
All right, well, he wants to do research, just keep it within limits, I guess. What made you choose being a doctor?
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Fanboy. Okay, well, I'd be glad to help.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
All right. Let's talk about the hospital.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Come on, fanboy, come on.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time. You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Interesting. All right, let's find out about this other doctor and this guy fighting.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Did we get all of those? There's another one.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Okay, tell me the story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Okay. You need to remain neutral.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Alright, that's probably all we're going to get out of this guy for now.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Okay, so that gave us some more information about this guy, though. Let's see if we can get something else out of him. We got
Good
a hint,
evening, Mr.
a hint
Fiddick.
from the
Good
doctor,
evening,
I
Dr.
think.
Reed. Any news about my operation?
Are you feeling guilty?
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
What do you mean your wife died because of you? You didn't kill her, did you?
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Oh, man.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Well, okay. Let's talk about his wife.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
God, that would be a bad thing.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
Interesting, he calls them bleeders in a vampire story.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Alright, so we got a little bit more information. Now, doing what I'm doing, I could have, if you remember, I got that morgue quest right away. I could have ran off and tried to accomplish that, but I think in looking and talking to everybody, if I'm getting more things to do, it's kind of dangerous to go outside. I don't necessarily want to go out there unless I've got several things to get done. I don't want to have to go back and forth on the same street if I find out I've got 2 or 3 quests to do in that location.
As for me,
All right, I think is that same doctor, or is this a different doctor? These doctors and these. Is that?
I'm
Ackroyd?
quite busy right now.
Oh,
Dr.
it's the
Reed.
asshole. What do you think about Strickland's research?
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
All right, I got a choice here. I don't know if I'm going to get to ask both of them. Why do you wish to lead the surgery? He just kind of said he thinks he's a better doctor. Yeah, what about your rivalry? Does this add up into anything in here?
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. but I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
That's a fair answer.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
Okay. I don't know if I trust his judgment because I don't know that much about the patient. But if you're looking at it, how could a blood transfusion help if he's just injured his hand and he needs surgery? Plus the fact he said that none of his experiments are successful yet. So I think I'm going to go in the middle here. You know, you'll assume the consequences. I trust your judgment. I don't really. But it's to be conservative, maybe.
Other people may say that's too conservative a point of view.
Conservative? And what are you going to say to Mr. Fiddick if he loses his arm because of the operation? Because that's what's going to happen if the surgery is a failure.
True. All right.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Now, he claims that he wouldn't be childish enough to let his feelings get in the way, but that's not how he talked. All right. We're going to keep going counterclockwise here. And what's this? All right, there may be stuff out here, but let's continue on the inside here. We haven't met all the nurses yet. Oh, who's this?
The life running in your veins.
Yes, Doctor?
Oh, it's the same nurse. Hey, Dorothy.
Exactly how bad is the supply situation here at Pembroke?
It really depends. Dr. Swansea deftly works his society contacts for monies, but with the quarantine, well, we're in God's hands.
Okay. She already told us where the morgue was. You ever rest?
Why then do you always work the nights? Don't you ever sleep?
At the Pembroke, we're always hands on deck.
Okay. When do you sleep?
Your dedication to the Pembroke does you credit, Nurse Crane, but when do you sleep?
We staff get our sleep when we can, Doctor. Nursing is a vocation, not the labor of a journeyman.
Well, I understand that, but still, sleep deprivation is dangerous.
Lack of sleep and the medical profession always ends in disaster. I've witnessed many a colleague succumb to stimulants to fight exhaustion. Drugs were as deadly as bullets in the trenches.
London's trenches start here at Pembroke Hospital. We are on the front line, make no mistake.
All right. Guess there's no arguing with her.
That's all for now, Nurse Crane, thank you.
I mean, obviously she's trying to help people, but...
Good evening, Nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
All right, so this is the nurse, I believe, that we had the letter on, that from her sister. And is this also the one that was taking money for the bed?
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
You must get a hold of yourself, Nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Would be scary, wouldn't it? So how long have you been a nurse?
How long have you been a nurse?
Or long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
No, you're quite right.
You're right. When dealing with such a terrible disease, one must remain humble. but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try our best.
True.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
Ah, another nurse we haven't met yet. How's the staff coping with all this stress?
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Okay, why is he grumpy?
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Well, it sounds like he is. If he's complaining all the time, that's pretty chatty. Okay, yeah, this is the one we had the letter on that the sister, she told the sister she was thinking about leaving the hospital.
Pepper, are you sure you want to leave this hospital?
To become a nurse was a little girl's dream. But in the end, I don't feel that useful. I want more. I want to make things change.
Okay. Be proud of what you've achieved. The patients need you. This is unacceptable. I don't quite know. The problem with some of these questions is we haven't learned that much about the background of these people. How do we know she's not proud? That maybe she's just tired. If I'd say the patients need you, well, she knows that, and she's thinking about quitting anyway. And it's not my place to say that she can't, and so I'm going to go with this one.
You should be proud of what you've achieved. This hospital represents hope for many people in need of help.
Maybe you're right. But at the moment, I feel like we're just a cemetery waiting room.
And that could very well be, too. All right, I guess that's all we got for now.
With the fever.
Let's talk to... Oh, sorry, nurse. Oh, there's that crazy lady again.
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
All right, this is the piece of paper that we got downstairs, or no, upstairs. Well, wherever we got it, that said that this guy had some pain. It might be phantom pain. Let's save that for a minute.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
All right. Who's treating you?
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
All right. Well, this is an unusual case in the fact that there's nobody that knows what the pain's like except for the person that has it. So, is it real? Is it not?
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
It's unusual that medicine doesn't do anything. Because back then they had some strong medicine. They had medicine that would not good for you, would kill you.
Why Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
Really? What really happened?
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was. The hotel was a shithole. There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Unless she left before the fire started. Why do you lie about it then?
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans, and it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Well, that's not true. Not everybody would go out with a prostitute. You can't hide forever. Surgery could help you. Well, what business is it of ours to say whether he can hide or not? You know, it's his own business.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
Well, that sounds like that's what's happening. My hint failed. So
How's your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
I must have answered wrong.
Can I ask you precisely why?
It's the pains.
All right, we went through that already. So I answered I answered incorrectly, I think, and...
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
All right.
Disgust on every street.
Maybe we'll learn more. Oh, this is the guy we saved from the vampire. From the sailor?
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
All right. Wait a minute. Let's go back and find out about your life in London. Your presence in William Bishop's den. Wow. All right, well, let's just start with this one. What brought you to William Bishop's den?
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
Oh, he's talked to the crazy lady.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
If you say so. What's the situation on the dock?
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The Wet Boot Boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Wet Boot Boys? Who leads them now?
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Wait a minute, Clay Cox, isn't that the guy sent the nurse after? That vampire voice wanted me to eat?
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Good for you, I guess. I met a bartender that said you and you were good friends.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
Tell me about the corruption.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
Yeah, goody two-shoes. How about the despair you spoke of?
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
So how do you make a living at this?
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Okay, are you a priest?
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Well, that's what a priest is. Why not use your cross against William?
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
That's curious, because that Dr. Swansea used a cross on me. It seemed to work pretty damn good. So either this guy doesn't really have the faith, or something's different. Or he didn't want to do it.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really. But I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
Aha. Now this is somebody evidently we haven't met yet, so...
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel... empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Okay, I think that's
Goodbye,
all
Mr. Hampton.
we're going to get out of Mr.
We'll
Hampton.
talk again later.
All right, so I think that's all we're going to get out of Mr. Hampton. So, let's see. He mentioned Harriet Jones. We have not met that person yet.
But the suffering continues.
So there must have been a room I missed. And then we've got outside, because I would assume that's where the ambulance is.